Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. The topic for today is endocrinology, and this is our third video in the rapid revision series for surgery. So let us begin. Okay, the first topic is MEN syndrome. MEN 1 is also known as Wermer syndrome, and it is characterized by parathyroid hyperplasia more than adenoma, then anterior pituitary prolactinoma more than ACTHoma. In ACTHoma, there will be Cushing features. And third is pancreas, that is the neuroendocrine tumor of pancreas. Right. So the neuroendocrine tumor can either be functional or non-functional, but functional is more commonly seen in men 1, and the most common tumor being gastronema more than insulinoma. A point to be noted is that if you talk about NEDs in pancreas without association with men's syndromes, then insulinoma is the overall most common neuroendocrine tumor. The non-functional neuroendocrine tumor of pancreas is PPoma. All right. What are the other lesions? There can be carcinoids like bronchial, thymic, or gastric, then ependymoma, facial folliculoma, adrenal mass, and lipomas. Now, how do we make a diagnosis if any two of the three target endocrine organ is there? Right. Familial men, there is any target organ like pancreas, pituitary, parathyroid in first degree relative of men 1. Then we screen at birth for menin gene. Alright, if it is absent, then it is men is ruled out. If it is present, then there will be involvement of pituitary at 5 years, parathyroid at 8 years, and pancreas at 20 years. Alright, then men 2, this is also known as Sippel syndrome, and this is the most common. The most common is medullary thyroid cancer. Second is pheochromocytoma. Third is parathyroid, again hyperplasia more than adenoma. Then next, Hirschsprung disease. Remember, this is an important point. Cutaneous lichen amyloidosis. All right. In men 2B, there is medullary thyroid cancer, pheochromocytoma. Apart from that, there can be mucosal neuromas, gastrointestinal gangliomatosis, Marfanoid habitus, megacolon, and constipation. All right. Men 2 is associated with red mutation, right? Next, let us talk about pheochromocytoma, right? So it is characterized by a triad of palpitation, diaphoresis, and headache. There can also be hypertension, which is the most consistent feature of pheochromocytoma, right? Second most consistent being headache. The investigation of choice is 24-hour free metanephrin. The first line is plasma metanephrin. If it is positive, then 24-hour urine metanephrin is done to confirm the diagnosis. Investigation of choice for localization is MRI, much more than CECT, and on MRI we can see the light bulb sign, right? It is seen with hemangioma and pheochromocytoma. Right. Now, if the age of the patient is less than 50 years or is there are signs of extraadrenal mass, then we go in for DOPA PET scan or MIBG scan to rule out paraganglioma. Right. If the patient is more than 50 years, right, or after performing DOTA PET scan, then pre-op prep is done by giving the patient alpha blocker followed by beta blockers, right, and it is done 3 to 4 days prior to surgery to control the hypertension. Now, treatment of choice is adrenalectomy, right? If the size of the tumor is less than 5 centimeter, then laparoscopic procedure can be done, or else open surgery needs to be done. Then incidentaloma is any mass which is discovered incidentally while carrying some radiological investigation or otherwise. For that, plasma metanephrine, plasma aldosterone levels or plasma renin levels, and dexamethasone suppression tests are done. If all are negative, that is, it indicates no functional problem is present. So what do? We look at the size of the tumor. All right, if it is less than 3 centimeters, then just observation is done. For tumors between 3 to 5 centimeters, see the age of the patient. Again, if it is less than 50 years with signs of malignancy and no comorbidity, then surgery is done, right? If the age is more than 50 years and there is comorbidity or there are no sign of malignancy, then again, simple observation can be done. For tumors more than 5 centimeters, surgery is done. All right. Next topic is lingual thyroid. It is an ectopic thyroid which is at the foramen of cecum, that is the base of tongue. It is associated with hypothyroidism that leads to increase in TRH, stimulating TSH, causing hypertrophy, right, of the thyroid gland, leading to dysphagia, dysphoria, choking. Management, first line is thyroid supplementation, that is T4. The treatment of choice is RIA, radioimmune assay with iodine 131, right? It has gamma and beta particles that causes destruction of the gland, right? Remember, iodine 123 has gamma only. Now, two more conditions are thyroglossal cyst and thyroglossal fistula, right? So, cyst is congenital, right, while fistula is formed after FNAC, that is, it can be iatrogenic or it can also be formed spontaneously, and fistula is always acquired. Ectopic thyroid, right, it can be present in the neck, in the central compartment, trachea, esophagus, and mediastinum. Now, if neck swelling is present and on FNAC it is a thyroid tissue, so if it is present laterally, the swelling, then it is usually skip metastasis, while a central swelling is usually thyroid. So we see thyroid if it is normal, that means there is ectopic thyroid, while if thyroid is abnormal, then the patient is advised to undergo thyroidectomy with modified radical neck dissection. While if skip mets are present, then the treatment is total thyroidectomy plus modified radical neck dissection. Right. Apathetic thyrotoxicosis, it is a rare condition. Overt signs of hyperthyroidism are absent. Right. It presents with depression, anxiety, rhythm disorder, and myopathy. The management is anti-thyroid drugs and the treatment of choice is radioactive iodine. Now let's talk about thyroiditis. It can be acute, that is usually a bacterial cause, subacute like De Quervain thyroiditis, chronic Hashimoto's, and chronic sclerosing like Riddle's thyroiditis. Right. So in acute, it is due to infection, that is bacterial infection. De Quervain is after a viral infection or postpartum. Then chronic, that is Hashimoto's, it is an autoimmune condition. There is increased lymphocytic proliferation, and Riddle's thyroiditis is autoimmune. Again, it is associated, it is IgG4 related disease, right? So there will be increased IgG4. Then let's talk about acute thyroiditis. It is highly painful, right? There will be leukocytosis, ESR is increased, and the patient is euthyroid. For investigation, ultrasound and FNAC are done, and the management is just conservative. In subacute thyroiditis, again, if it is due to viral cause, then it is painful, while postpartum De Quervain thyroiditis is usually painless, right? The leukocytes will not be raised. ESR is raised just in viral conditions, and it will be normal in postpartum. Again, the status is euthyroid, and ultrasound and FNAC is done, while the management is conservative in these two. In chronic thyroiditis, that is Hashimoto's thyroiditis, it is initially painful, then it becomes painless. The ESR and leukocytes are normal, right? And the patient is hypothyroid. Again, USG and FNAC is done, and anti-TPO antibodies are given. Anti-TPO antibodies are checked here. If TSH is more than 10, then T4 is given. If TSH is between 5 to 10, antibody titer is checked. If antibodies are raised, again T4 is given. If it is normal, then there is no need for T4. Then chronic sclerosing thyroiditis, which is IgG4 related disease. Right, it is an autoimmune condition and it is painless. Again, these leukocytes and ESR is normal, while the patient will be euthyroid more than hypothyroid. Right, management is isthemectomy, that is wedge biopsy is done, which is both diagnostic and used for management. Then the if they ask about treatment of choice, then it is steroid more than isthmusectomy. Right. Then Hashimoto. Right. In long-standing goiter, um, it is rapidly enlarging, then it means there can be toxic thyroiditis or non-toxic thyrotoxicosis. Right, in toxic there will be increased T3 and T4 and it is Plummer's disease, that is, or toxic multinodular goiter. Non-toxic, if it is painful, it is non-invasive, it is anaplastic. Painless is generally follicular. Right, follicular thyroid cancer is a malignancy due to long-standing goiter. This is very important. Right, follicular thyroid cancer due to long-standing goiter. All right. Then prognosis. Right, it depends upon age more than size, capsular invasion, vascular invasion, lymphatic invasion. Okay, let's talk about parathyroid. Let us talk about papillary thyroid cancer. Right, it is spread by lymphatic route, and there can be micro or occult PTC as well. Right, if the size is less than 1 centimeters, there is no lymphatics or no vascular invasion, and the treatment would be lobectomy. While if these are involved or the size is more than 1 centimeter, the treatment is total thyroidectomy. Lymph node dissection is done for more than 4 centimeter size tumor, or if the lymph nodes are present in neck, but prophylactic lymph node dissection is not done. Right. Papillary cancer is multifocal in more than 85% cases, hence total thyroidectomy is done. Then Lindsay tumor, it is a well circumscribed follicular variant of papillary thyroid cancer. ठीक है, तो remember two things: Lindsay tumor with papillary thyroid cancer and long-standing goiter, it is associated with follicular thyroid cancer. Then increase RET and PTC, these are the mutation, and decrease PAX2, PAX8. Then tumor marker for rhabdomyosarcoma is PAX2, PAX8 and RAX FHR, remember. ठीक है, because in JIPMER exam they asked such questions a lot. They used to ask such questions, so they form potential INI-CT question. Then for thyroid nodule, TSH is checked. If it is less, right, so then the next step would be thyroid scan. If hotspot is seen, that means it is a toxic solitary nodule for which surgery is done. Right, now if the thyroid scan shows a cold nodule or TSH is normal, then the next step would be to undergo ultrasound. Right, remember, decrease TSH, next step thyroid scan, cold nodule or normal TSH, next step is ultrasound. On ultrasound, if the size is more than 1 centimeter, then we see whether it is a cystic lesion or a solid lesion. For cystic lesion, aspiration and cytology can be done. Right, then if it comes out to be malignant, again surgery needs to be performed, and for benign cystic lesions only observation is required. Then for solid lesion, FNAC is done. If it comes out to be benign, observation is done. It can be malignant, then surgery is done, or it can be Hürthle cell cancer, for which also surgery is done. If it is a doubtful case of malignancy, then also it is done. And if follicular cells are seen on FNAC, then the next step would be again a thyroid scan. ठीक है, तो क्या किया, फर्स्ट वी डिड अल्ट्रासाउंड, उसमें आया सॉलिड नोड्यूल for which FNAC was done, and on FNAC if follicular cells are present, then here again thyroid scan is done. Right, Now, if the thyroid scan shows a hotspot, it is just physiological and only observation would suffice. But remember, very important, a thyroid scan in an FNAC of follicular cells, it means neoplasia, that is follicular cancer, for which surgery is done. And remember, the tumor markers that are raised are RET and HMBE2, right? And this is definitely suggestive of cancer, right? If the tumor size is less, that is less than 1 centimeter, then plain observation can be done. This is a very important table. Let us go through it again. Okay, so first TSH is checked, right? If it is low, then to thyroid scan. Okay, now thyroid scan shows hot spot to surgery. If it shows a cold spot, or if TSH is normal, for both these conditions, ultrasound is done. Now ultrasound can show a small tumor that is less than 1 centimeter, for which just observation is required. But if the size is more, then we see the nature, that whether it is a cystic lesion or it is a solid lesion. ठीक है, ultrasound में how will it appear? Cystic will be pani, so it appears black, and solid will have uh, solid components, so this will be heterogeneous. ठीक है, this will be black, cystic. Then if it is a cystic, what we will do? We will do aspiration cytology and cytology, right? And depending upon it, whether it is malignant or benign, the treatment can be given, which is surgery for malignant and observation for a benign tumor, right? For solid lesions, we do FNAC. ठीक है, FNAC में it can be malignant, it can be benign. Again, if it is benign, then just observation is done. If it is malignant, then surgery is done. But if follicular cells are seen on FNAC, then again thyroid scan is done. ठीक है, thyroid scan में अब अगर hotspot आता है, it means that is physiological. But if it is a cold scan, that it means this is follicular thyroid cancer, malignancy, and surgery is done. Next is medullary thyroid cancer, right? It is associated with increased CEA, increased calcitonin. This is very important, calcitonin, CEA, and it is associated with RET mutation. Then there is increased histamine, serotonin, ACTH, so there can be diarrhea, right? Cushing's, and due to histamine, flushing and vasomotor symptoms. Then amyloidosis can be present, cell balls can be seen. These are all features of microscopy. For treatment, the patient undergoes total thyroidectomy with prophylactic central compartment dissection. ठीक है, bilateral modified radical neck dissection is done, where it is done for central neck node and for tumor more than 1.5 centimeter. Metastatic MTC, the most common site is lung followed by liver, and bones it forms osteoblastic mets. ठीक है, remember, very important, this is asked, it gives rise to pulsatile bony mets. Remember, follicular thyroid cancer, there we will see lytic bone mets. ठीक है, so if this is the bone, तो bone के बीच में you see lucent radiolucent areas, these are lytic mets seen with follicular thyroid cancer. And osteoblastic mets, they will appear as whitish areas. ठीक है, so these are osteoblastic seen with medullary thyroid cancer. ठीक है, remember ohm, whatever. ठीक है, then for follow-up, treatment of choice for metastatic is debulking thyroidectomy with chemo, and the drug of choice is vandetanib. This was asked in NIMHANS in 18, so this is also important. Then labatuzumab can be given, which is an anti-CEA. Follow-up of choice is calcitonin, right? And it can be combined with annual neck CT. Next is parathyroid. The most common lesion is adenoma, but remember, in men, the most common is hyperplasia. Okay, what are the indications of parathyroidectomy? If the patient is symptomatic with any one of the following features, that is GFR less than 60, age less than 55, nephrolithiasis, increased serum calcium more than 1 milligram per deciliter above baseline, or a Z-score of less than 2.5, minus 2.5. Okay, inferior thyroid artery is passed by the recurrent laryngeal nerve, right? We take that point and a 1 centimeter radius circle is drawn, right? Inferior parathyroid would be ventral to the junction and superior parathyroid is dorsal to the junction. Okay. Then investigation of choice, for pre-op localization, Sestam EB scan is done. Ectopic parathyroid SPECT, in intrathyroid parathyroid ultrasound. Intra-op confirmation is done by parathyroid assay, right? For PTH, remember the T half is 3 minutes. Right? PTH is a 3-letter word, and so T half is also 3 minutes. A fall of parathyroid more than 50% baseline would indicate successful removal. Then parotid mass, right? If the mass is benign, then we look at the site. For superficial parotoidectomy or suprafacial parotoidectomy is done. For deep tumors, or if both lobes are involved, then the treatment of choice is total conservative parotoidectomy where facial nerve is spared, right? In malignant, the treatment of choice is radical parotoidectomy. All part of facial nerve is also removed in radical parotoidectomy, along with radio, chemo, and lymph node dissection can be done depending upon the conditions. Then facial nerve reconstruction is done with sural nerve, that is a preferred one. Other nerves that can be used are antecubital vein or the auriculotemporal nerve. What are the indications of radiotherapy? First, in high-grade mucoepidermoid, adenoid cystic, if there is a relapse, invasion of local structures, invasion of facial nerve, and in squamous cell cancer and adenocarcinoma, right? Then lymph node dissection with chemotherapy is done in SCC or adenocarcinoma, and lymph node dissection is done for acinic cell tumor if the lymph nodes are positive. Then parotid fistula. It is an important topic, right? It is of two type, duct type with duct and gland type with gland parenchyma, right? The output in duct type is high while low in gland type, and it is managed by excision and repair of the duct, which is known as Newman and Seabrook surgery. And for gland type, it is just conservatively managed. So the duct type is the one that requires surgery. Then submandibular gland duct and stone, और डक्ट में स्टोन हो जाता है, ठीक है. सो the stones are usually radio opaque, right? Remember, parotid stones are radiolucent. Investigation of choice is silolithiasis OPG, right? And for parotid, it is silography. So if stone is present, we see its position with respect to the second molar, right? Because that is the surface landmark for lingual nerve. If it is anterior to the second molar, okay, this is the second molar, and if it is anterior to it, then treatment of choice is we open the duct and just remove the stone, right? And remember, the duct should not be closed. But if it is posterior to the second molar, then excision of the submandibular gland and duct is done. Now, nerve that is injured during the submandibular gland surgery, remember my LHMC, mylohyoid lingual nerve. This is most prone, and this was asked in NEET this year, right? Hypoglossal nerve, marginal mandibular nerve, or facial nerve. So all these nerves are injured, with most common nerve being injured is lingual nerve. Then cleft. Most common is both palate plus lip, followed by palate and then lip, right? So if both cleft lip and palate is present, it is usually bilateral and more common in male, while cleft lip is unilateral and more common in female, right? What happens is that the there is defect in fusion of the frontonasal process with the maxillary process, right? Cleft palate can be complete when there is no fusion of the nasal septum or vomer bone with the palatine shells, and incomplete cleft palate where there is incomplete fusion of the nasal septum with the vomer or the palatine shells, right? For management, there is a single stage procedure, which is the Farlow's procedure, and two-stage procedure is the Wardle and Kilner. Then Pierre-Robin syndrome, this is important. It is associated with cleft palate, and there is retrognathia and glossoptosis. For cleft lip, the management is Z-plasty, right? And it is Tennyson Randall Z-plasty or Millard's repair. Then, what is Declare's timing? Right, this is very important. For for unilateral cleft lip, it is done at the surgery is done at 5 to 6 months, and bilateral 4 to 5 months. Cleft palate, if soft palate is involved, in 6 months. Otherwise, for hard palate, 12 to 15 months. For both cleft lip and palate, with the involvement of soft palate, 6 months. Hard and soft palate, 6 months. Right, at 6 months, lip plus soft palate is done, and at 12 to 15 months, hard palate is done. So just remember that soft palate is 6 months and hard palate is 12 months. And जो cleft lip है, that is also 6 months. So if you don't know any answer, it is safe to mark 6 months. But what are the conditions at 1 year? It is involvement of hard palate. ठीक है, hard palate की 1 साल पे, बाकी सब की 6 months. Then rule of 10 is that 10 week, 10 gram percent and 10 pound. These are the requirements to perform cleft lip surgery. And for cleft palate, 10 months, 10 kg and 10 gram percent. This is hemoglobin, right? Then cleft palate is performed. The surgery for that is performed. That is it for today. We'll meet tomorrow for GIT. Thank you.